Good morning and welcome to our next instalment of Future Design and Build event, where we take a look at Autodesk 2023 updates and explain all of the core products, or most of the core products in the AEC collection. This period of time is usually quite an exciting time, given that, like, with the new updates coming along, it's good to take a look at what's out there, and actually maybe look at products that you typically wouldn't have done in yesteryear. My name's Nathan Brownsword. I will be chairing the session this morning, and we'll be able to take you through all of the core products, or most of the core products within that AEC portfolio. In terms of the session for today, so we're going to be looking at 2023 updates inside, well, between about 10 to 11 o'clock. We will extend it if we have a few questions. We usually normally take quite a few questions on these types of calls, so feel free to drop us a message, and we'll see, hoping we'll see what time we'll finish from there. As I said, I will be joined by my colleague Mark Calloway, who's application engineer here at Man & Machine, and he'll be doing the more technical demonstrations of each of the products a little later. As I just mentioned about questions, feel free to use the chat box to ask a question during the session today. I'll be picking those up along with Mark and a couple other members of the team here, so we'll come back to you quite quickly. But likewise, always come through the normal routes, through phone call, our Instagram account, Twitter, the website. Feel free to get in touch, because I know the team are watching themselves anyway about what's on store or what's on show today. So before I hand over to Mark, just a quick overview in terms of who Man & Machine are. I appreciate we've got a few people on the call today that, well, there's some new names that we haven't dealt with all that much. So really just to explain who Man & Machine are first before I do hand over to Mark. We're an organisation that splits and works across both the architectural, engineering, construction market, as well as going into manufacturing, plant, process industries. And why that's really important is we're starting to see the importance placed upon working with suppliers and being able to actually deliver the information that's required for a project. Whilst a client might be asking for a certain set of as-built drawings or information, and that will usually then be passed to the subcontractors that have been appointed on the project, their suppliers, they're the ones that are producing information when, like, the materials that are going into the building. We're seeing a hell of a lot of change from the industry and from our customers to actually engage with those. And I always want to let people know on the call that we are working with those individuals and those businesses to provide things like BIM models, or the level of detail that's required, being able to collaborate in certain ways. And I think that's really, really important, because it's now starting to actually filter down even more so to those product manufacturers. But in terms of Man & Machine as an organisation, we're spread, well, all continents around the world. We have a bigger presence across Europe, and in terms of where our head office is based, out of Germany, and we're very, very present across mainland Europe. When you look at countries like Austria and Switzerland, Italy, France, Romania, Poland, to name a few, we are able to support you, not just in the UK, but if you have international projects and you need a more localized account manager that's able to communicate within your client or with your colleagues in the native tongue, then we're able to do that. And we've been doing that a hell of a lot over the last couple of years. I think the need at the moment and the requirement for the skills that the UK has means that we're seeing this more and more. It's on the rise. So that's enough about the company. So what do we do in terms of the services that we offer, and more importantly, the technology? So we're talking about Autodesk today, and we are their largest platinum partner that they have across Europe by a country mile. There's no one bigger than us across Europe, and is able to support our customers in that respect. So what does that mean? That means we have a really good understanding of the core products. So when we look at the cloud offerings like Docs, and then we take it into the cloud collaboration tools, like BIM Collaborate Pro or Build when you're on site. But we also know all of the other softwares that, or some of which we're going to talk to today, your native authoring tools, your Revit, your AutoCADs, coming down to clash detection and working with point clouds, whatever it may be. We have a really good engineering team, technical team that is on hand and able to explain and also support you with these products. And that really helps because we're more than just an Autodesk partner, because we can actually support you with your workflow. And there's plenty of other products that then plug into these as well. I'm just showing the manufacturing tools on the left-hand side. And as I mentioned earlier, we're starting to see that connectivity between the two. There is a number of other technologies that we provide as well when you look at things like visualization tools and other plugins and bits and pieces, but we can talk about those another time. So what have we been getting up to? Well, the construction industry drivers, I think when you look at what's going on in the market at the moment, there's been a hell of a lot of change. BIM's becoming a prevalent term used within construction, sustainability. There's all sorts of things going on at the moment. They're starting to mean that organizations are looking to digitize and change the way that they operate. A lot of that's been driven by what happened a couple of years ago in terms of remote working and being able to actually collaborate and communicate with teams as effectively. I think we've all seen the benefits of working remotely in one form or another, be it from maybe if it's not necessarily a full-time point of view, but having that blend and being able to work efficiently with people, no matter where you are, within the country, overseas, wherever it may be. And we've been supporting a lot of customers along that journey, even more traditional companies and organizations that have been in the market for some time. We're helping them actually talk and being able to communicate and change the way that they're working for the better. When it comes around to sustainability and BIM, they can be quite closely linked. But what we're seeing with those is, with the BIM side, we're starting to see like the ISO standards come out, and that's started to then mean that there's the talk of this certification program. And that will then mean when that starts to trickle down, that BIM will become the norm. So being able to actually communicate and collaborate on BIM projects, yeah, great. But actually having one way of working, we're supporting a lot of businesses at the moment with that change. And my honest opinion about BIM is, well, you obviously want to do it if your clients are asking it from you, but let's make sure that we're doing it with a objective in mind. Where do you want to get to? What are the reasons you're doing it? Don't just do it for your customers. Do it to get something out of it. We're going to be less wasteful on projects. We're going to deliver projects in a more cost-effective or timely manner, whatever it may be. Because I think when you do that, you're able to actually get the team engaged and then get them adopting it and being able to actually apply it to those projects. So what does that really mean in terms of our services? Well, we're split into different offerings dependent upon what you're looking at. You have the traditional services where like software training, support for that software. But what we're starting to see at the moment is, I suppose, almost like a reason why we're here today is to look at what's new, to look at what's available. BIM certainly falls into that, being able to support you, understand where you want to get to, and then ultimately make sure that we are on hand to upskill you or help you deliver those projects yourselves. We're not going to do those projects for you. We want you to do that, so you have some value that you can take away. And when the next project comes in, you've got lessons learned. You can apply it to that project. We also be able to help in terms of like workflow automation, being able to connect different programs, being able to get the cloud products to talk with one another, so that it starts to automate some of this work that was very time consuming in years gone by. We can also help in terms of like the software deployment, asset management. So we're here today to talk about 2023. If you're moving from a previous version, we can help you do that. We can talk to you about how you do that over a larger license estate or network. And really, it's dependent upon what you want. There's always things that we can offer to support you. It's just really for our customers, how often do you want to use us or how little? And we're happy filling in where you need us to and being that partner that you require. But that's enough about Man & Machine as an organisation. I appreciate that we've got quite a few people on the call that want to see what's new in the 2023 applications. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand over to Mark. I'll stop sharing my screen, but as I said earlier, if there's any questions, please feel free to message through on the chat box, give us a call, speak to your account manager that you work with, and hopefully you enjoy the session. Thank you very much. Mark, I'll just hand over to you.
Okay, thank you there, Nathan. Let me just get my screen shared for everybody to see. There we go. Okay, so thank you for the introduction there, Nathan. Just to quickly introduce myself to everyone who's watching today. So my name is Mark Calloway. I'm one of the application engineers here at Man Machine. I've been working with Man Machine for just shy of 5 years now, and I've been working with Autodesk software in one form or the other for just shy of 10 years. That number does creep up fairly quickly. Primarily, I work with the AEC applications, which we're going to be looking at today. So first of all, just a couple of slides, a few things that are not really worth demonstrating. I'll just very quickly point out, and then we'll jump into some of the AEC applications, and we'll take a look at some of the new features in there. There's quite a lot that's been added and released this year, really. So I'm going to pick out some of the key ones, some of the ones that are interesting to look at, some of the ones that are going to be very useful to everybody, those sort of things. But there is quite a lot, so it's well worth jumping onto the Autodesk website later, and whatever your key products are, just have a look at what's on there. There's a lot of enhancements this year, so not necessarily new tools, but existing tools that have been improved. There's a lot of improvements in that sort of area. So if I can just get this slide to change, I think the first and most obvious thing that you'll notice as soon as you download and install whatever software it is that you're using is the Autodesk design team have been working on the icons. Okay, not the most exciting thing, your desktop icon. They have been the same for a good number of years now, so they've have revamped those. I think it's part of Autodesk's revamping at the moment. You might have noticed that the logos changed for Autodesk recently. Also, the splash screens that you get when you're launching your application, those have all been updated as well. So there is a new look and feel to pretty much all the Autodesk software in the 2023 range. As a heavy Revit user myself, that'll make launching the correct version of Revit on the computer very easy. I'll be curious to see what happens next year as to whether they change the icons again or whether they're going to kind of stick with this on a year-by-year basis for the time being. But it's certainly going to make launching Revit 2023 a lot easier. So the key programs I kind of want to focus in on today. Firstly, we'll give Inventor a bit of a mention. We'll then have a look at Navisworks. So for those of you who use Navisworks will be well aware of how much attention Navisworks gets year on year for new features, but there is certainly some stuff to take a look at there today. So we'll jump into Navisworks and see what's new there. Also, we'll have a look at Recap Pro and Docs. So if you're not aware of Docs, Docs is the online cloud platform that Autodesk offers for managing your projects, and there's some new stuff there in the world of point cloud scans, so we'll take a quick look at that. We'll then have a look at AutoCAD. There's a few nice new little features in there. I'm hoping that one's going to go well because I'm using a legacy license rather than one of the newer licenses that's got all the extra stuff in there. So we'll see how that one behaves, and then we'll take a look lastly at Revit. Not biased at all with it being my favorite application, but there's some nice new features in there. Okay, so again, if I can get the slide to change. So InfraWorks. I'm not going to demonstrate this one because this is more to do with the InfraWorks and Inventor workflow. And I don't know really anything about Inventor, so it's not something I can demonstrate. But when it comes to your bridge designs within InfraWorks, the workflow there has massively improved between Inventor and InfraWorks. It's a lot easier now to update your bridge designs within InfraWorks and have the parts modeled with Inventor. You can simply make changes within Inventor and you can push that through into InfraWorks. So if you're working with InfraWorks and you're doing bridge design and you're working with Inventor, it's well worth having a look at that. So just a shout out for Inventor on the bridge design side of things there. So what we'll do is we'll close this down and let's get inside some applications. So if I can get this PowerPoint to close, there we go. And I've got all my applications pre-launched here. My laptop's just about coping with all these models open at the same time. So hopefully it'll all go nice and smooth. So the first thing we'll take a look at is Navisworks, which should be this one here. There we go. Okay, so there's a few new things that have been added within Navisworks. Quickly, just a shout out that FBX files are supported now within Navisworks, but we've seen a lot of new additions around properties in Navisworks this year, especially with the link between Revit and Navisworks. So what I have here in Navisworks is a Revit model that we've just simply opened directly. We've opened up the Revit file inside Navisworks. I do actually have Revit open with the same file open at the same time. We'll have a little look at the relationship between the two here. If I just select one of these external walls and we go to the properties window on the right hand side and pin that open, let's just make it a bit wider. Okay, so what we have now is Navisworks will show us the structural usage of elements within Revit. So this is something that's new, that's been added. So it's going to give us the structural usage that's been set within Revit. In addition to that, there's more parameters that automatically get pulled through from Revit. We can access material areas and volumes for structural elements. Okay, and if I have a look on this list here, see if I can find, where's area? There we go. So that's now coming through automatically from Revit with nothing extra to set up there. We can also now bring through project and shared parameters from Revit, and we can have multiple hyperlinks as well. So Navisworks has always displayed hyperlinks, but it only ever displays one hyperlink. If you have multiple hyperlinks as a type property within Revit, that will now come through into Navisworks. So before it only showed one, now it will show multiple hyperlinks. Now, when it comes to having your project and shared parameters come through into Navisworks, we do need to tweak a couple of settings first. If I just go to the Navisworks main menu and go to options, and we expand, let's have a look where we're going. I can find the settings. Yeah, okay, so under file readers and Revit, there's actually 3 settings we need to set here. So first of all, on this convert element parameters, you need to make sure that's set to all. Okay, with that set to all, we also need to convert linked Revit files. And then at the bottom, we want to set this convert for the entire project. So there's 3 settings that we're going to need to change first. So there's that convert element parameters, there's this convert linked Revit files, and then there's this convert down here for entire project. We need to set entire project. And in theory, if we start adding some project or shared parameters into our Revit project and we update the model, we should see those now come through into Navisworks. Now I'm hoping this is going to work, because even though I've looked at this feature, I've not fully tested everything yet. So we're going to do a bit of a live demonstration here. So let's jump into Revit. Let's create a new project parameter. Okay. And we'll assign this one. Let's go with walls, as we had a wall selected. So walls, and we're just going to call this new project parameter. It could be anything that you want. Let's make it a type parameter. Let's make it a text parameter. Okay, and if I select that same wall that we just looked at a moment ago, we should have a new type parameter called new project parameter. we can find that in the list. There we go. I'm just going to type something sensible into there. Hit OK. That's going to update this model. Give it a quick save. Is it going to let me save over the same one? Okay. Let's very quickly then close that down in Navisworks. We should be able to save that and just update the model, but let's come out of this. Try that again. Okay, we'll give it a different name and then we'll open up the new file. So I'm just going to go File, Save. There's Project. We'll save it in the same folder. We'll give it a distinct name. We'll open up this new Revit file within Navisworks, and we should see that new project parameter. Here we go. So let's open. There's our project. Okay, and this is what you have to love about live demonstrations, isn't it? Okay, so it's not liking that one. Let's just give that another attempt. No plugins will open. Okay, let's just give that one more attempt. File, save. Sorry, save as project. We'll give it a sensible name this time. Let's just call it new file. Okay, so that's our Revit project saved under a more sensible name. I don't think that would have been the cause of the problem, but let's see what happens. Let's open this new file. Okay, so yeah, it looks like it's struggling with that. Let's just think what else we can do. I don't want to waste too much time on this particular feature. Let's open up a different sample file and we'll just make the same change. So I'm just going to open up the basic sample project from Revit. We'll stick in a new project parameter. Okay, we'll do something similar. So we'll create, oops, did I edit one there? New. So we'll call this one, call it wall property. Type, assign that to all our walls in our project. Let's make it a text. There we go. And then if that's the wrong file. And then if I go into the default 3D view, we'll pick a wall. Go with this one at the back of the house here. Edit type. We've got that new wall property there. And I'm just going to type something in here, such as, I don't know, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, that. And let's see if we have any better luck with this project file. So let's save as. And let's save that onto our desktop, into our Navisworks folder there. We'll leave the name the same. There we go. Let's try and open up the basic sample project. Okay, so I don't think that's going to work for us today. I did have a play around with this last week, and it does work. But obviously for today, for the live demonstration, my copy of Navisworks on my computer has decided that it's not going to let us do that. So we won't waste any more time on that, but we'll move on. But you'll just have to take my word that now when you create your project and shared parameters within Revit, and you'll link those Revit models into Navisworks, that you can now access those. So long as you change those free settings first, I'll just point that back out for anyone that's interested in that. So again, in your options window, you want to go to file readers. You want to select your Revit file formats down here, and it's this convert element parameters, and you want that set to all. You want to tick the convert linked Revit files, and you want to have this convert here set to the the entire project. What I was hoping to do was then update the Revit model within Navisworks Live, and you'd see those parameters just automatically come through. But that's not gonna happen today, so I do apologise about that. Let's close off Navisworks and we'll move on from there. So the next application I want to take a look at is Recap Pro, and it's not specifically the Recap Pro that I wanted to show you. It's more to do with the point clouds on docs. Okay, so in Recap Pro we can access our point cloud models that we've produced. So this at the moment is just all the points from this particular scan. I'm just using the default model that comes with Recap here, so anyone can download a copy of this and have a play around with this particular model. If I just click on this camera location here, as well as collecting the point scan, the camera's taken some images of this location as well. We can easily export this or upload this onto docs. It does take a while for it to upload, so I've took the liberty of doing this in advance. So at this point, we would have uploaded this onto our docs project, onto our cloud project. If I just go into docs, and we can see our Recap Pro file here. And if we just click on that, we can open up our point cloud file directly within docs, which isn't anything particularly new. You've been able to open point cloud scans on docs for a while. And we can see here that exact same model that we're looking at. But the new feature now is, as well as being able to see the points from the scan, we can also go back into the real view. So it takes those images from the recap file, and we can view the photography of the scene. Whereas before you could only see the point cloud scan, we can now access the images. If you want to add any notes onto this, you can do. You can create dimensions for measuring stuff, add markups and on all that sort of stuff. Just this little button here, you can switch between the point cloud view of the model, or you can go back into the photographic view as well. Okay, so that's a new feature there, more on the doc side of things than Recap, but it's all kind of the same workflow. Okay, so let's close this one down. And next we'll take a look at AutoCAD. Okay, so again, a good number of new features, a lot of enhancements within AutoCAD, so well worth reading up on. I've just picked a couple out to demonstrate today. For this one, I'm just going to start a new blank drawing within AutoCAD. Okay, first thing I want to point out is if I just go onto the Collaborate tab, we now have this markup import feature, and this works well with the AutoCAD mobile app. So if you've got any sheets that you've printed out, for example, and you've been drawing on those sheets, maybe you've added some notes, added some revision clouds, and you've manually doodled over your sheet of paper on your desk, we can now easily import those back into AutoCAD. Using the app, you can take a photo of your sheet. AutoCAD's going to recognize the drawing on the sheet. It's going to recognize your doodles, your writing, and you can convert those into elements within AutoCAD. So if you've added a bit of text on there, you can tell AutoCAD the piece of text you want to bring through that you've doodled and add that as a piece of text within AutoCAD. So if your workflows involve you printing sheets out and manually doodling on there, you can easily bring that information back into AutoCAD. So well worth looking at that there. A little difficult for me to demonstrate on my screen because I would need a mobile app on my phone and a sheet of paper printed out. But this is a nice new feature there for you. Also, just to point out, the sheet set manager has been enhanced as well, particularly working with docs and the cloud. It's a lot faster now as well. So if you use that for your workflows, hopefully that'll speed things up for you there. Now, the next one I want to show you, I'm about 50-50 on whether it's going to work with my license, because I am using a legacy AutoCAD license. But we have something called insights. Okay, there's two areas that kind of appears. If I can just find where the button for that is, we should have, is it command macros? There we go. So on the view tab, if you go to command macros, we have this insights here. And what it should do is recognize repetitive tasks that you're doing in your drawing. For example, if I just very simply draw a rectangle, that's going to be a desk. Okay, and I copy this desk. I then, if it's going to let me do it. Okay, that's not copied what I was expecting it to copy. Let's try that again. Let's copy that desk. Let's paste that desk. There we go. And then let's rotate that desk. Pick a point, rotate it 90 degrees. I repeat the task. Copy, paste, rotate. And once I've done this a couple of times, it should recognize. We'll do that again. It should recognize the pattern of commands that I'm doing, and it should come up with some suggestions for some macros that are going to automate that for me. So it looks like that might have already been there for me practicing earlier. But usually once you've done the same thing 3, 4 times, 5 times, it's going to start suggesting these macros to help automate your workflow. So if you do a lot of repetitive stuff within AutoCAD, you do need to have collecting of data from AutoCAD enabled, because it does send off the data that it's collecting on your use of AutoCAD onto the cloud, onto the Autodesk servers, where it's analyzed, and based on that, it will collect, it will suggest macros that might speed up your working. So that's a nice new feature there. And you don't really need to do anything to set that up, so long as you got the you tick the box when you start AutoCAD, and it asks you, do you want to send off useful information to Autodesk to help improve the program. So long as you've got that enabled, which you can change if you've disabled that, then you're going to get these suggestions. Okay. Also, if we just go back onto the start screen as well, we do have my insights here as well. Okay, and based on your continual usage of AutoCAD, it's going to start suggesting stuff here. I've only very recently installed AutoCAD 2023, as pretty much everyone will have done, and I've not used it in anger yet. But the more you use AutoCAD, the more it's going to suggest on here. Okay, so let's jump back into this drawing. The next feature I want to look at is counts. So we've had this count feature for a couple of versions now. So if I just go into the View tab and we go to Count, we have this little count window here. We can get it to tell us how many of a particular type of block exists within a project, and so on and so forth. We can add tables with totals, and nothing particularly new there. Now, what I'm just going to do is let's delete those. Let's convert this to a block. And this was our desk, wasn't it? So let's call this particular block a desk. Let's add a table in there. We'll have a round table. So let's turn that into a block as well. Let's just call this one round table. Yeah, okay. And I'm going to make a few copies of these. So we might have a few tables around here, and then I might accidentally duplicate a couple of instances where I've placed more than one copy of a particular block. And if you're looking at the count window whilst I'm doing that, you'll see that for the round tables, as soon as I accidentally started to duplicate stuff, this little warning icon appeared there, and we'll come back to that in a second. And if I just do the same for the desk, let's just place a number of desks. It's a very disorganized office, wherever this is. Okay, and again, we'll duplicate a few of those desks there. And you can see that it's also highlighting now the fact that we've got duplicates existing within this particular drawing. But what we've also got now is this specified area button. So instead of just looking at the whole drawing, we can now specify an area that we want to concentrate on. Okay, we can specify it by creating a window like I just did there. We can also select a block or an element which we want to look inside. So if you've built some external walls around an area, you've got a room or something like that, and it's enclosed within an area, you can use elements for specifying the areas you want this to look at. We can see here that we've zoomed in on this area, this particular area. The totals have updated, the counts here have updated. It's not including the ones that are outside this area. So if you quickly want to get numbers for a particular part of your drawing, we can easily do that. Also, if I just go to this round table and left click on there, you can see that it's highlighted green, the tables that it's counting, and it's also highlighted in red the areas where there's these issues. So we know that we've duplicated more of these tables than we need to there. And again, if I select the desks, we can see where we've accidentally placed desks on top of each other. We can expand these. If you've got the same block, but they're on different layers, we can further break this down, and we can then select the tables that are on a particular layer to a certain scale, a certain mirror state. Okay. So a good number of additional tools added to the existing count feature there. Next, we'll take a look at Revit, because I am aware that we only have a limited amount of time to look at some of these new features. So let's move AutoCAD out of the way and let's jump back into Revit. Again, I'm not biased at all in the slightest, but there is some nice new features in Revit. Okay, so I'll just continue working out this simple house project that we launched as part of the Navisworks one that didn't quite go to plan. First and obvious thing that we can see on screen is in the project browser, against all my views, I've now got these blue and white squares. So if you use Revit, you might be well aware that a view can only be placed onto a sheet once. Okay. If you want to place a particular view onto multiple sheets, you have to duplicate that view, then place a copy onto a different sheet. We now have this ability in the project browser to easily and visually see which views have been added to sheets. If you've got this little blue square, it means that the view's on a sheet. If it's white, it hasn't yet been placed on a sheet. You can enable or disable this feature. You don't have to have it on there if you don't want to have it on there. So it's a personal choice, is this. If you right click at the top level in the project browser at views, we have this show view placement on sheet status icon. You can turn that feature on and off. If you don't like the look of it and you don't want it there, it's not useful, just simply turn that feature off. But for me personally, I think that's a nice little touch. Okay. The other thing that we can do within Revit now is conditional formatting within schedules. I just have a look at what schedules we have already set up in here. We have a planting schedule. Okay. So we can add conditional formatting. If I select a particular cell, and it is based on a cell by cell basis. So if I clicked on this common name, it would affect this common name. And if I clicked on the count, it would affect the count. But just to give you a very poor example, if I select for this, I'll go with red ash because it's going to be easier to pronounce for me. So if I go with this red ash, right click on the count cell there. It's not right click. We need to go into the formatting on the properties window here. If I just go into the formatting, go to count, we now have this conditional format button here. And if I go into there, I can specify if it's a certain value to make the cell a certain color. So for example, if this has a type mark, the equals, and I know full well that the type mark is T6. I can see that in the background, so I'm going to enter T6. We can make the cell that's selected a specific color. I'm going to make it red. Click OK to that, and now so long as the type mark equals T6, this cell is going to color in this particular color. Okay, if it didn't equal T6 and it equals something else, that wouldn't color in. You can set up these for different values, and you can have it affect different cells, so on and so forth. Okay, so it's a nice addition to your schedules there to add a little bit of intelligence and visual cues for you. The other feature that we can now do is displace 2D elements. So if anyone that's not aware, we can displace elements within Revit. However, we haven't been able to do it on 2D views. And we can also displace tags along with the 2D elements as well now. If I just jump into a floor plan, we'll just go with level 1 here. Let's just clear some of the clutter off of here. Actually, let's go with level 2. We'll displace a window. So let's get rid of all that there. Let's get rid of these as well. So we can see we've got 3 windows on this wall, and we can see that they're tagged. If I select one of these windows, we can displace that element. As soon as you click the displace element button, we get this little widget here, which I can grab one of the arrows, and we can displace this element. I can add some paths onto there just so we can see where it's been displaced from. And again, you'll notice that tags now displaced with elements. Okay, so in 2D views, you can now displace your elements to better visualize whatever it is that you wanted to show on a particular view. Okay. We can also have multi-leader tags as well. If I just finish displacing these windows here, because we'll do that with these particular tags. Okay, so we have a type mark number 46 for all 3 of these windows. We have 3 tags showing the same value. If I get rid of the additional 2 and we just stick with this 1 tag, we can make this multi-leader. If I have the tag selected and go to the ribbon bar, which will now be on the Modify tab, I can add and remove hosts. With Add and Remove Host selected, I can click on the additional 2 windows to add them as additional hosts, and then I can tell Revit to show the leaders. So we can now have these multi-line, these multi-leader tags within Revit, which again is a nice little addition to the application. Next thing we'll have a look at is that we can swap views on sheets. So let's jump onto sheets, see what we've got set up already on here. What's this plans here? Okay, so we can see in the project browser that the level 1 and level 2 plan are on sheets, and we're on a sheet where we can see those views. What I might want to do is duplicate the level 1 view. Okay, so we've got this level 1 copy 1. This view, maybe we add some dimensions onto here, for example, just to make it a little bit different, just so that it's not an exact duplicate. There we go, that's enough detail on there. So maybe I don't want to use this particular level 1 view. Maybe I want to swap it out with the copy that I've just made. Okay. Previously, you would have to delete the view on your sheet and then drag and drop and spend your time positioning the view again. With the viewport selected on your sheet, what we now have is this positioning and view tab, and we can choose a different view to swap it out with. You've got the positioning at the top there, and we have the view that we want Revit to display in this viewport here. I can see level 1 copy 1, and knowing that it's not already on the sheet, I can select that, and Revit's going to instantly swap out that view with no need to mess around with deleting stuff and then finding views in the project browser and dragging, positioning and dropping those on there. The next thing I wanted to show you was, let's have a look. So I won't show you this one, but I'll just give this a bit of a mention because we're not really an appropriate model. But if you're into your MEP side of things, when you demolish something that belongs to a system, it maintains the system that it's part of. Previously, when you demolish stuff, it broke the system that it belongs to. But now when you demolish elements, those elements will maintain the system that it's part of. If I just jump back into the default 3D view for this project, there's two more things I'll show you before I hand over back to Nathan. So first of all, if I just select any element, one of the other new things you might notice is in the properties window, we now have this IFC parameters. Okay, so this is new and it's been added in 2023. And the second thing that I want to mention is the measure tool within Revit has also been updated as well. I just start the measure tool. In 3D views, it's now a lot easier to measure. We can pick faces, we can pick points, we can pick edges. I can left click one location, I can go across the model three-dimensionally diagonally to another point. I can click there and Revit's going to measure the distance between those 2 points. There's no need to mess around with work planes or anything like that. We can simply click on faces, click on edges, click on points, and Revit will give you the distance between those 2 points that you've clicked. So the measure tool within 3D views is a lot easier to use than it was previously. And one other thing that I'll just point out before I hand back, which has just popped back into my head now, talking about work planes. Just a little change, but if you work with your work planes, previously you would go into the work plane window, and if you wanted to pick a work plane, you would then have to select the option to pick a work plane, and then you would have to click the face that you wanted to change the work plane to. Just to save you a few clicks, now if you expand this set button, you can instantly start the pick a work plane button. And if I select that roof and then just show the work plane, we can see that the work plane within Revit has now changed that roof. Want to change it to something else, I can click pick work plane. Let's pick this wall face here and I can change the work plane there. So just saving you a few clicks. And just for anyone who was interested, previously you had to go to set work plane, and then from within here you had to click pick work plane, click OK, then pick what you wanted to change the work plane to, and then it would change. So just saving you a few clicks there. So that covers the bulk of the features I wanted to run through today. There's a lot more out there. There's quite a few enhancements, being existing tools that have been improved. So it's well worth having a look into what's new in 2023. So I'll leave that there. I'll hand back over to Nathan. So let me stop sharing my screen. Okay, back over to you there, Nathan.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Mark, for taking us through all of the different products out of the AEC collection and showing the new features. There's quite a lot clearly there that can be really useful. I think there's quite a few nice additions there. It's good to see Navisworks have an addition after quite some time, because it's usually one of the products that's a bit more stagnating, but it hasn't really seen the development that Revit has and other tools in the collection. So feel free to get in touch with us following on from this session. I think we've answered, no, we have answered most of the questions that come through. I've had a few people that have actually messaged our account managers, so we'll go back to those separately. But feel free to get in touch with us. Like I say, the team are on hand here. They're able to talk you through maybe, I suppose, more about your workflow, if it's a case of you're looking at how to actually take those features on. We would say, or we normally suggest with the new versions of software, not to download them straight away and go using those right now. We usually say a couple more weeks, because we wait for, usually there's a hot fix or there's a couple of little bugs that just get ironed out. It's always the way with the softwares and different versions. So We'd normally say in a couple of weeks' time, it would be more suitable to download that to then start to use on your projects. If you're going to download to have a look, then there's no problem with that at all. But if you're using it in anger, then we'd definitely recommend waiting for a little while. So that takes us to the end of our 2023 webinar this morning. We do have some other future events and webinars coming up. So the Future Design and Build, it does continue. The series continues with next installment set to go in the diary. We've got a few. I believe we've got one for the middle of May, end of May, June and July. So we've got 3 there. We've also got a few other events coming up. So you probably noticed with our future 2022, with our Revit Starter series. The next one is on Thursday. We're running one a month, and it's for people that are starting to use Revit for the first time. Within this one, we're looking at, I think we looked at collaboration tools. There's one in the diary for Thursday. So go on our website and have a look at that and get registered, as are the other ones. They're all diarised for until the end of the year. So make sure you go and have a look at those. We're going to have more training events lined up as well. We've also got our live event. We're having a quite a large event in September, I believe it's going to be. So we will release more details in future. But if you want to find any events in the meantime, then go to our website, manandmachine.co.uk, and go to the About part events, and you'll be able to see everything there for you. So, as I say, that takes us to the end of today's webinar. Thank you for joining us. We hopefully will see you again soon at our next sessions. And if there's anything that we can do in the meantime, please feel free to get in touch. We'll speak soon. Take care.